My turtle's a pothead and thinks he's a cat. My 6-year-old yellow-bellied turtle Lonzo loves to get high. I have no other way of putting it. NGL I've never seen anything like it in my life, but as I'm getting older I'm finally starting to accept the fact that it's just who he is. He's already very different than all my other turtles. For X. He likes being outside of his tank most of the time because he has developed a very strong friendship and bond with my cats. They're inseparable to the point that he lays with them, sleeps with them, and follows them everywhere they go. A couple of years ago I started noticing that every time I smoke Lonzo would not only be line it and walk up to me, but he would extend his neck out as far as possible to try to inhale as much smoke as he can. Then things finally took a turn because he would get so erratic when he would see me smoking that he would even try tackling my ankles and literally trying to climb my pants. Due to that turtly circumstance I decided one faithful morning to blow a little smoke at him to see what would happen, and the rest was history. I can be anywhere in the house, but once I light up you can always count on him to come out of nowhere like a turtle stoner version of Batman to take his little hits and then go about his day. I don't do it on purpose, but I'm not going to keep putting him in a different room if all he's going to do is come back. Plus it doesn't help that he always gets into fights with my other turtles and he genuinely doesn't like being in the tank all the time. I have found him asleep next to my bags of weed before. When we take him on car rides and roll down the windows he still tries to go where the smoke is, and I don't think I will ever experience something like this again in my life. It's so weird, but he's still a very healthy, active turtle. He's just a pothead, but I love him to death, and that's my story. Batfam hacking Bruce's phone for super important reasons. Barbara. I have it hooked up to the Bat computer. It'll decode it in a few seconds, then start opening all his files and go through them live. Jason. Oh great, we get to see all his secrets together. Dick. Yeah, no offense to B, but I don't think there's much to see. Barbara. It's in, now we relax and watch the screen. Stephanie. Oh man, that's fast. Look, we're going through all his emails. Now his texts. He talks to Clark a lot. Damien. None of this is of any use. This is a waste of time. Barbara. Shh, just keep your eyes peeled. We'll have to go through manually after, but keep an eye out for anything interesting so we don't have to search for the next 2 hours. Duke. Ooh, we're in his photos now. Aw, he has a family photo album. Cass. We look so happy. He took a lot of pictures, and he has pet album. Tim. Honestly, I don't expect this. I thought there'd he only pics he downloaded from the internet that the paps took, albums labeled dick pics. That's private pops up. Stephanie. Oh God, no. Covers her eyes. Jason. Ducking down. Fuck, no, why? Tim. I don't want to see him like this. Isn't he too old for that? Covers his face with a file, smack his arm over Damien's eyes. Dick. Crouching down his head in his knees. You, Bat kids. Panicked screaming. Barbara. For fuck's sake, Bruce, what the, oh, they're pictures of you, Dick.
The Riddler, but he's just some normal streamer. Got peer pressured by Twitch chat into doing stuff. Germa, no chat, I'm not gonna try to trick Batman no, that's unhinged laughter. Oh, Batman, solve my riddles or I'll blow up a whole casino. Chat, listen, okay, I know Batman beat me. I know that. I know he solved all my riddles. So here's the plan, double or nothing. I go all over Gotham and put in twice as many riddles, really hard ones this time, and that's what we do for the next 2 or 3 streams. Does that sound good to you guys? Bad Riddle Andy. Ban that guy for 5 minutes. Batman is Bruce Wayne, you fucking idiot. Weherbeer Brewhub Gerg. Bruce Wayne? Bruce? Wayne? You think Batman, the fucking, slips into Boston accent for like 1 second. Da fucking bat? That guy is Bruce Wayne? No. That's just not possible, chat. That's not a thing that just happens. Bruce Wayne's been up in his, he's been in his tower, shaking, alone, scared, talking to bricks or something I unknow. He doesn't know how to throw a punch for shit. That's like if I came up to you and told you, looked you like dead in the eyes, it's just us two, and you're like, what the hell is this guy's problem? He's just staring at me like a sicko. And I say, hey, you wanna know what? Bro? This guillotine and this bowl of fucking feathers? Same fucking thing. That's what you just did to me. Anyways. Farting and screaming noise continues. Daily Planet Employee 1. Don't you think Clark Kent and the new CEO have been quite close lately? Daily Planet Employee 2. Yeah, they do seem to get along a lot better these days. I wonder. Daily Planet Employee 3. Shh, they're coming this way. Pretends to be busy with her work. Clark, are you still feeling sore? Bruce. No thanks to you slamming into me. A little warning would have been nice. Clark. Sorry, I got caught up in the heat of it. At least it ended well for the both of us, right? And we got back here as fast as possible without anyone noticing. Bruce. Don't remind me. Wincing. Riding you was a bad idea. Clark. But I made sure to move a bit slower so you'd feel more comfortable. Bruce. It's not about how fast you were moving, Clark. It's about the position. I hate it. Clark. Oh, come on. Don't be like that. We can try different positions next time. I could hold you up by the waist. Bruce. Muttering. Should have just taken the jet. Daily Planet employees?
Fun fact. One once asked Jeff Good, creator of Jake Long, American Dragon, at a furry con, "How do you feel about people making lewd art of your characters?" He said, "Oh, Disney sat me down and showed me a bunch of Kim Possible porn and said, 'This will happen to your show.' 3 things I find hilarious about this. 1. Jeff Good goes to furry cons too. Disney acknowledges and prepares show creators that their show will, most definitely, become porn. 3. Disney has examples on hand of how said show will, most definitely become porn. Disney doesn't just have examples of said porn. Okay, story time. Years ago, I dated an animator chick. During that short time together, we ran around a lot and met a bunch of industry people in our area. One of them used to work for Disney. So we are hanging out at his apartment, and conversation being what it is, he kinda says, "Hold on," and goes off to dig in the closet. He comes back and sets down a couple stacks, and I'm talking foot high, of printer paper. What followed were a couple hours of hysterical laughing as we paged through A History of Disney Animation Porn Edition. See, Disney has this weird rule in their artist contracts. Everything you create while in their employ is theirs, even in the off time. It's one of the reasons they are reviled in the industry. But the rule was set in place to basically steal good ideas from their staff or force them to only work on Disney IPs while employed. The joke's on them, though. They didn't count on most artists being giant perverts. This story is also why I laugh when people tell me drawing smut will ruin your art career. So, Disney being bastards ended up earning them smut of everything they've ever created. And also, per their policies, they had to keep it. Every artist knew about the smut vault, and our buddy here had photocopied a chunk of it. Yes, 2 to 3 feet of smut was just a chunk of it. Snow White? Rescue Rangers? Goofy? Minnie Mickey? Beauty and the Beast? Aladdin? Yep, you name it. It was there. Some of it was mild. The topless Little Mermaid stuff made sense, at least. Some was raunchy as hell. All of it in the animation style of the films and shows. So yes, not only does Disney know there will be porn, have the porn, but they official porn. You're welcome.
Fic idea Ellie in Gotham, vibing it up, when this guy, Batman, comes out of nowhere and asks her to do a DNA test. Ellie. LOL, sure, but you're gonna be real confused. Ellie finding out she shares DNA with this guy and pauses before whipping out her phone and calling Danny. Ellie. Yo, Danny? Are you adopted? Danny. What, no? Ellie. Then why is Batman saying he's my dad? Danny. What? Batman. Who's that? Ellie. The guy I'm cloned from. Batman. Oh. Here be crack adopted? Danny bit into a chili hot dog she had bought while staring at the city from the highest building she could find. The sun had set a few hours ago, but the cold didn't bother her. The perks of being half dead. She finished the last bit of her hot dog when she felt more than heard a whoosh. She turned around to find the legendary Batman standing beside her. Even with the white-out eyes, she could feel his eyes on her. "Can I help you?" she asked, while inching further away from him. "Can I get a DNA test?" he asked back. That stopped Danny in her tracks. What? What? "Can I get a DNA test?" he repeated. Okay, wow, so I didn't imagine that. Why? "You look like someone I know. I just want to confirm if you are or are not related to that person." "So what? I look like you, and you want a DNA test? Do you go up to every child that has black hair and blue eyes and ask for one?" "No," he answered, without elaborating or denying that he was talking about himself. Fuck it. It's not as if Danny had anything else to do. "LOL, sure," she said, "but you're going to be really confused." Danny allowed Batman to cheek swab her and then watched as he put her DNA sample into a small computer he was carrying in his gloves of all places. She did take the juice box and lollipop he gave her. Danny never turned down free food. It helped that human poison didn't affect her. 5 minutes later, Danny took out her phone. "Hello?" a groggy voice asked. "Yo, Danny, are you adopted?" "What the fuck? Number... Then why is Batman saying he's my dad?" "Who are you talking to?" Batman asked as he finished talking into his headpiece. "The guy I'm cloned from," she answered. "Wait, what?" Batman asked, furious. "What do you mean Batman is saying he's your father? Jack Fenton is my dad." "Yeah, I think you need to talk to your parents, big guy." Danny heard footsteps before Danny yelled, "Mom! Dad! Am I adopted?" "What? Of course not," a woman's voice said. "Yeah, Dano, you are 100% a Fenton even if you don't carry my blood." "Dad, what do you mean I don't carry your blood? And why was I never told about this? Why is Batman saying that he's my father?" "Batman, that's strange," Mr. Fenton bellowed out. "We had that threesome with Bruce Wayne." "Oh, my ancients!" Danny yelled out. "Batman is Bruce Wayne the himbo?" Batman, aka Bruce Wayne, made a confused noise while his other children laughed into the comms. Oh, gross! I didn't need to know that," Danny yelled. "Well, we were a bit tipsy, and he was interested in our technology," Maddie said. Batman took the phone from Danny's hands. "Who is this?" he growled. "Shut the hell up, Fruit Loop. I just found out my parents fucked around with a billionaire furry who beats up criminals." "No, we slept with Bruce Wayne." Bruce recognized that loud bellow. "Jack Fenton." "Ancients, stop saying that." The boy hung up the phone, and Bruce was left with a little girl up on Wayne Enterprise. He had no idea what to do. "So, you have any food?" "We'll not expand on this, but if you guys want to let me know and tag me..."
Summoning where Danny jokingly tries to summon a random superhero, and it works. That's not the problem, though. No, the problem was that nearly the whole Justice League were in the same room, and clearly the spell wasn't specific enough cause now he had a bunch of heroes packed like sardines into one of his parents' sub-basements and the reverse spell wasn't working. He can't just let them out cause they would have to walk through another sub-basement which happened to be where his parents stored their torture devices, and he didn't know how to explain that to a bunch of heroes without making it sound like his parents were villains. Oh, ancients, Danny just now realized his parents are villains. Danny didn't think this through. To be fair, he wasn't expecting it to work at all. It gets worse when they hear Danny's parents talking about the town hero. The door to the basement was open and they know about Phantom. No, they don't believe the rumors about him being a menace. They've all had those same rumors spread about them. And about how they will rip it apart molecule by molecule when they capture it and then study the remains once they're done to see how it works. The heroes weren't sure which to be more horrified pissed about, that they planned to capture and murder a hero, a teen hero at that, or that they consider him non-sentient to the point of calling him an dead tired draft. "You're very good at pretending to be a shadow." Tim's voice shook Danny from his quiet note-taking and he looked up at his study partner with furrowed brows and confusion on his face. "I'm sorry." It was as much a question as it was an apology, which meant it was neither really. Electric blue eyes pinned him in place, and Tim looked at Danny as if he had just said the sky was green. "If I had not been partnered with you in our ecology class, I wouldn't know you exist. No one at this school knows you exist besides the staff, and even then you're a name to a face to a grade. Nothing else. You're very good at pretending to be a shadow, a bodiless thing gliding along the edges of society." Danny bit his lip slightly, mulling these words over. Tim was right, of course. He never allowed himself to make waves. He stuck to the background of any place he was in, and really he was surprised that he wasn't more noticeable with how often Tim Drake Wayne was his study partner. "I guess, I've never really liked attention anyway." "Why, you stalking me, Drake?" He raised a brow at the other boy, attempting to hide his confusion behind snark. He hardly ever used Tim's last name, either of them, but this seemed like an appropriate time to do so. "Hiding something, Nightingale?" Tim snarked back, but there was a bit of genuine questioning under his tone that had Danny tensing up in his sit, gripping his pencil a little too tightly in his left hand. "I can only contact you through your student email. You don't have a phone number or a phone period as far as I can tell. You have a laptop that barely works and seemingly requires a blood sacrifice to do the most basic of tasks. You live on campus but you never let me see your dorm. You never agree to meet me anywhere but the library on campus and I just..." He lets out a heavy sigh and runs his hands through his hair, and suddenly Danny is a lot less tense in his seat. When Tim's eyes settle on him again, there's genuine concern there and it breaks his heart. I am worried. Daniel Nightingale doesn't exist outside of this college and it makes me think you're running from something or someone. If that isn't the cause, then by all means please tell me I'm overstepping, but Danny. Tim reaches across the table that separates them and grabs at his free hand. If you need help, I'm here, okay? And oh, Danny's core positively sings in his chest at the admission. Protection was a major obsession for Danny, and the way Tim talked, the way he explained his thought process, it made Danny feel warm and fuzzy inside despite the permanent chill in his body. Tim wanted to protect him, and wasn't that so sweet? Danny stuttered before a sad smile was spreading across his lips and he gave the boy's hand a gentle squeeze. I appreciate that, but unless you have a way to somehow get an entire government organization disbanded and legislature revoked, then I'm afraid this is out of your ballpark. And really, Danny should have known better than to open his fat mouth. He should have known that the Fenton luck would bite him in the ass with his first real friend since Sam and Tucker. Tim may have dropped the conversation after that, but by no means had he dropped the topic entirely. No, instead apparently he had somehow gotten into contact with the Justice League, because less than 2 weeks later Batman, Red Robin, Superman, and John Constantine of all people were waiting for him inside his dorm when he got back from a late night of studying. What the fuck?
You shouldn't be sitting that close on the curb. A car can hit you. Jason didn't care, and yet he found himself talking to anyway as he stood a little behind you, arms crossed and his head tilted down as he looked at you. You, obviously not having a care in the world, still sat on the curb, legs outstretched, as if you were asking a car to hit you, or crush your legs into bone dust. I'll be fine. You sound reassured as you focused on the road, eyes downcast and all. It made Jason groan. He's seen this before, witnessed it firsthand. He guesses he should be grateful you aren't looking for a rooftop. In the distance, he can see 2 headlights. He looked back at you. Listen, I don't know what your deal is, but whatever you're going through can't be that bad. So get your ass up before I drag you over to the sidewalk. And it was like something clicked in your head as you finally looked over your shoulder to see him. Brows furrowed as you pursed your lips together. Wait, you're actually talking to me? The car started speeding faster and faster down the road, making Jason, who was still dressed as Red Hood, reach for you. But you were already moving. You were faster than he thought as you stood in the middle of the road. Brow still furrowed as you looked at him. The car wasn't stopping, wasn't honking. Its horn. Jason panicked. Hey! Just as he stepped off the curb, the car already flew down the road. But he took a step back. You didn't get hit. The car seemingly passed right through you. You can see me? Okay, so maybe he hadn't seen something like you before.
Thinking about Jason Todd, ex-reader, who is so casually the exception. You're just a coworker, another vigilante. Yet you're one who he tolerates without much trouble, never annoying him or asking too much, never imposing, always just there. You know how animals love people who don't smother them? It's like that. Jason is a cat who is constantly being annoyed and irritated by the people around him, and you're just, you, unswayed and forever unchanged. You are your own person and don't change on account of him. In a way, it's grounding for him, especially if you're naturally a quieter person. There's just this unspoken and unacknowledged thing between you two. It does get acknowledged when you end up teaming up with the whole Batfamily by association with Red Hood, and you catch a piece of soot in Jason's hair. Casually, and like you have many times before, you simply pick it out of his hair. Yet, this causes a silent uproar from his siblings and family who happen to witness this. Not because you touched him, but because he just let you. He remains unaffected, like this was normal. Like he doesn't care you're in his space. And to you, this is normal. He's never complained or asked you to stop, simply letting you do it with a weird semblance of trust you somehow earned. But to his siblings, who only know Jason for his avid complaining and loud disdain.
JL finding out Bat secrets, but it's in the most simple ways. Barry, how old do you think Robin is? Oliver, you met him last week. He's like 12. Barry, yeah, but like he was 14-ish when we started the Justice League. Hal, maybe he's an immortal vampire like Batman Nightwing. That's ridiculous, Hal. We have aliens and gods on this team. Why not vampires? Wally, can't be immortal if he was 14 then, but 12 now. Barry, I've cracked it. There's more than one Oliver. Your genius amazes and astounds Barry. So the first Robin should be like 30 by now. Dick, what Dick? 30. Am 26, Dick now in crisis. I am not that old yet, Barry. Hold on, what? Wally silently laughing at Dick despite them being almost the same age. Oliver, were you Robin? Dick, I can't believe this betrayal. It's called mid-20s and you're no longer invited to Christmas Ollie. Oliver, I was invited to your Christmas. Wally, well, not anymore. You're not Hal. Can I come? Dick, that's up to Batman. Hal, Dick, coward, this is why you aren't invited to family Christmas. Barry, you're related to Batman. Oliver, I was invited to Batman's family Christmas.
Thinking of an O where Danny moves to Gotham for university and he meets Jason, and there's just something about the guy. I mean, ATS built like a brick shit house and likes romance novels. ATS perfect, and Danny starts doing strange things. He wants to avenge him and also make him cookies. Anyway, Danny starts doing ghostly courting rituals but doesn't understand why he does them, and Jason is equally as confused and yet flattered. Where did you get such a sick set of wine cups? Such a fine set must have cost you a pretty penny. And here I was thinking you were a broke college student. Jason laughed lightly, taking a sip of water from one of said glasses. It was shallow and wide, with lovely dark red patterns mirrored on the outer and inner rim seamlessly. The other cup, sitting in Danny's hand, a matching design. No, I am a broke college student. I just found the materials to make them. Really, it was just a small project. They're really well made. Have minus his phone pinged with the sound of an arrow flying past, over and over, overlapping, and he sighed, picking it up, to see the entire batch blowing up. Eyebrows furrowing. He scrolled up to see what started all of it, to see a link. Clicking on it brought him to a news article. Released 3 hours ago, the Joker was found in his cell, missing the his kneecaps. No wounds, no first entry or exit. It was as though the deranged clown wasn't born with them. Tapping his nail on the rim of the cup, he still, across from him. Danny suddenly seemed nervous. Jason tapped it again, holding the cup closer to his ear. It was minus. Are these the fucking Joker's kneecaps? He pulled the cup away from his head, looking at it differently. Then up at Danny. The smaller male crossed his arms. The rejected court jester doesn't need to cause more damage than already done. I'm doing Gotham a favor. Besides, it's like I said, materials just laying around. They were being wasted anyway. I'm drinking out of one of his kneecaps. The nervous look turned to fear from Danny, his arms uncrossing as his hands waved back and forth in front of himself. If you don't like them or they're making you feel sick, I'm sorry. I just minus you mentioned that the Joker made you feel both angry and fearful. So, I just thought minus. Without breaking eye contact, Jason downed the rest of his water, gently clicked the cup onto the small coffee table and stood up. This is a cause of celebration. Champagne or wine? The creak of old hinges, as he opened the good drawer. Only for emergencies or good days. This counted as a really good day. You're not curious about this, not worried. You're not going to call the cops or bats on me, are you? Donnie was standing now, dropping nearly to a ready stance to sprint. Whether to attempt and get past Jason to the door or out the window unknown. Do I look like I carry a giant bat symbol light? My phone is sitting on the coffee table next to my cup. Besides, the bottle was way in the back, but still relatively new. Hopefully Danny could hold his alcohol. You're gonna tell me all the details of why and how you decided on this as a gift, let alone how it was done. At this point, I don't know if it's a dating gift or if you're proposing. Either way, my answer is yes. Danny's body dropped into the armchair, as his hands flew up to cover his face. It did nothing to hide his embarrassment. Even the other man's ears had turned red.
When I told a friend that I was a devout member of the English teacher Jason Todd headcanon, her addition was, what if he catches one of his students in a gang or something? He begins to deal psychic damage while beating people up. Jason, you didn't even know how to indent a paragraph until a week ago. Jared, put the gun away. Jared, runs. Jason, yelling at his back. Yes, go cry to the mom who was writing your essays until 10th grade. The gang start avoiding him because they've found out that any of their newer, younger recruits will flee at the sight of him. By God, how did he know about that horrible test score? That awkward boner? That PE incident involving a stinky shoe? How did he have that kid's mom's phone number? Red Hood has a rule against hurting kids, both because he doesn't want to hurt kids, but also because if too many kids have to stay home from school with injuries from their bad life decisions, he'd be out of a day job. Someone calls Red Hood Mr. Hood once, and Jason just freezes. "What did you just call me?" Students notice Mr. Todd is like constantly sleeping. Why is the man always exhausted? Well, whatever. Probably stayed up late grading papers. A student gets bored and starts editing teachers' faces onto different vigilantes. The old lady math teacher becomes Red Robin. The hip with the kids' Spanish teacher becomes Nightwing, and Mr. Todd becomes Red Hood. He actually has to leave the room when he sees it. One day, 2 of his seniors are talking about getting pulled over. What did the cops say? And Mr. Todd is too exhausted and on too many pain meds to stop himself from announcing "oink" from across the room. Mr. Todd says a cabbie becomes a running joke among his students. Kids and gangs start getting flyers on gang violence and alternate money making methods for teens shoved into their lockers. They can't figure out who's doing it.
There is a specific and terrifying difference between never were monsters and are not anymore monsters. The thing that was not a deer implies a creature which mimics a deer but imperfectly, and the details which are wrong are what makes it terrifying. The thing that was not a deer anymore, on the other hand, implies a thing that used to be a deer before it was somehow mutated, possessed, parasitically controlled, or reanimated improperly. And what makes that terrifying is the details that are still right and recognizable poking out of all the wrong and horrible malformations. Hey, I totally fucked up and forgot the third type, which is not anymore and maybe never was monsters. The thing which was no longer a deer and maybe never was implies a creature that, at first glance, completely appears to be a deer, but over time degrades very slowly until you realize, probably too late, that it is not a deer anymore, and had you seen it in this state first, you wouldn't have recognized it as a deer at all. And there's a decent chance that it was never actually a deer to begin with, but only a very good mimic. And what makes this one scary is the slow change from everything being right to everything being wrong, happening slowly enough that you don't even notice it until it's too late, as well as the fact that something now so clearly not a deer could have fooled you to begin with. No idea if this commentary adds anything or not, but since monsters are generally couched in terms of danger and threat, and therefore fear, in my mind these posts broke themselves down kinda like this. The was not a deer monster speaks to fear born of deception, dangers that approach under the guise of familiarity, with varying levels of success to infiltrate the familiar before lashing out. The not a deer anymore monster speaks to fear born of coercion. Whatever it is was once familiar and perhaps even comforting, but through the action of another agent, the familiar has become grotesque and dangerous. The and maybe never was a deer monster speaks to fear born of self-doubt. Most people spend most of the time in a sense of vague assurance that they're doing the right thing, or at least a right thing, in the situation they find themselves in. This fear lies in the danger of thinking you understood only to be eviscerated by the cruelty of no, you were never correct. And this is your consequence. Yes, this good analysis. Actually, in light of this, I'd like to propose yet one more type of monster to this list. The monster is a deer. But you realize you were very, very wrong about what deer are like. The deer itself has not changed. You were just wrong about deer from the very start. This was horrifying to read while high, and now I'll have an unhealthy fear of deer in general. So thanks for that.
Okay, so I'm rewatching Arcane for the 15th time because I love being sad and in pain, but I just had a thought. Can you imagine how Batman would absolutely lose it if he met little Powder freshly abandoned and alone? Lonely child? Check. Orphan? Double check. Needs guidance or will become mass murderer? Check. Like, imagine if Gotham is like another city that neighbors Piltover, and Zaun and it's like Piltover's goth twin or something. Powder, I got my family killed in a stupid accident and my sister abandoned me, and now I have a terrible guilt and rage inside me that can only be quelled with violence. Batman vibrating with excitement and pulling out the bat adoption papers. That's terrible. How do you feel about capes? Powder, can I wear neon pink and blue and spray paint my spooky symbol everywhere? Batman in tears. Yes, yes you can. And then Alfred takes one look at this little lonely girl who needs love and affection and is like, I'll get the hot soup and warm blankies, Master Wayne. And then of course she meets the rest of the Bat family and I really am in love with the idea of Powder, that tiny little girl abandoned and afraid of everyone, getting this big and loving family that's just as broken as her, but found that their broken pieces fit together.
I love in fantasy when it's like King Galamir, the mighty golden eagle, and his most trusted advisor who would never betray him, Gruel Worm, Blood-Eye the treacherous. When my sister and I were kids, we had a special action figure, a battered Batman doll. Our dog had chewed off half his head, and his cape was long gone. We dubbed him Evil Chancellor Traitor because, in our toy society, the title Chancellor automatically came with evil as an ancient tradition, like grand or high. The king, an old knockoff Power Rangers figure, had absolute faith in Evil Chancellor Traitor, despite him looking like a mix between Jafar and Grima Wormtongue. Every other toy was convinced he was behind every sinister scheme. He even carried a poisoned dagger named the Kingslayer. But the twist? He was actually the most devoted civil servant in action figure dystopia. He spent nights drafting laws to get broken toys, mobility aids, scavenging shoeboxes to expand city infrastructure, and once proposed moving half the settlement to the upper shelf so vulnerable toys wouldn't get snatched by the dog. As for the Kingslayer, purely symbolic. The evil chancellor's true duty was to serve a good king, but if the ruler ever became a tyrant, he would sacrifice himself to assassinate them for the people's sake, taking the blame to keep the political machine running smoothly. We even kept a diary for him where my sister and I took turns writing out his unsung acts of heroism, usually right after every other toy talked trash about him. Barbie with the unfortunate haircut. Oh, that evil chancellor traitor. Why can't the king see how wicked he is? Charmander from the vending machine. Char, Jurassic Park. Jeff Goldblum toy, with a disturbingly realistic face. At least if the king gets stabbed, we'll know who did it. Evil Chancellor Traitor's diary. Today, I was feeding ducks at the park when I noticed a legless action figure sitting on a bench. I slipped $100 into his bag while he wasn't looking. I really need to increase funding for medical treatment centers. If only we had enough glue, there would be far fewer toys struggling without limbs. Insert iconic evil laugh. Eventually, Evil Chancellor Traitor fell victim to one of my mom's cleaning sprees. Declaring him too busted to keep, she threw him away. My little brother, who followed our games like a daily soap opera, cried so hard that we staged a special episode where the toys found Traitor's diary. A grand memorial was held. The king dramatically flung himself into the empty grave, and then ordered the toy bulldozers to bury him so that Traitor's grave would have a body. This felt very important for some reason. Thus began the quest for a new king, which somehow led to the coronation of a giant rubber snake named Tyrant King Cobra.
I feel like when Bruce first took in Duke, he made a very big point of learning how to do black hair minus and I mean. He workefort. He spent like $1,000 on supplies. Learned what every possible black hair care product does. Learned 14 different braiding patterns and styles. Figured out which ones would be most efficient for patrol and most comfortable under his helmet. Probably started listening to soul music at some point during this process minus it was a whole thing. And when Duke finally moved into the manor and realized that his bathroom was fully stocked with 8 different kinds of conditioners, 15 picks, 12 containers of edge controller, one of those old Hollywood beauty tea tree oil bottles, etc., he just sorta turns and looks at Bruce, who is standing in the doorway very nonchalantly proud of himself for being a good dad. And Duke slowly raises his hand and points at his head, which has been shaved since well before they met. And Bruce just kinda stares back because, somehow in his weeks of preparation, he didn't consider that. And even if he did have hair that needed to be styled and cared for, Duke is like 16 and definitely knows how to do that on his own at this point in his life. And they just keep staring at each other. Until finally Duke says, "I think I brought my own Dura G." And Bruce just kinda nods and he's like, "That's cool. I'll be in my office." And then he goes to the Batcave and stares at a wall for 3 hours while Duke sends a picture to the sibling group chat and they all tell him that Bruce just has a thing about babying his kids. He kinda can't help it. He's doing his best. So Duke leaves everything there. Eventually, he does start growing out his hair a bit. And on occasion lets Bruce sit him down on the floor and do his corners and put little yellow beads at the end, because it makes him happy.
The most unrealistic thing about Harry Potter is that no teacher ever called him James by accident, or that Ron never was called Bill, A. Charles, No Per, Arg, as a younger sister who knows this struggle all too well. This is real. Pretty sure 70% of my past teachers still think I'm called what my sister is called in fact. Imagine Fred being called Percy by McGonagall accidentally, and then he gets so offended that he refers to her by Professor Insert any other name but McGonagall for the rest of the year, costing Gryffindor a considerable amount of points one at a time. From then on, she vows to just call them all Mr. Weasley, until Ginny comes along and she calls her Mr. Weasley by accident, and Ginny accidentally calls her Sir, and it starts again. It's lightly off topic, but also slightly relevant, but I have long cherished this mental image of Professor Snape saying something snappish to Harry in just the wrong tone of voice, and Harry absent-mindedly, wearily, and completely accidentally responding with, "Yes, Aunt Petunia," which would have all kinds of additional ramifications when you remember Snape is the only one who knew Petunia personally. He asks Harry to stay after class and straight up asks him, "Am I truly that unpleasant?"
That kids all missed out on their childhoods. Bruce included. Give me them trying normal kid things for the first time in their lives and going crazy. Like Jason seeing a kid have one of those fake phones where you have to press buttons and water pushes the rings floating on the screen onto the poles. And he can't get it out of his head for the next few days until Bruce gifts it to him one day. He doesn't know how the old man knew. Jason's still not used to Bruce's "I don't know how to express affection, here's a gift for you, but hey." He wasn't complaining. Jason picks up the phone. And HE's hooked. He carries it around with him everywhere and it's now become his comfort thing. Or when the whole family went out to a night tour and saw the light-up sticks. They all spent hours fencing with each other and just enjoying how bright the lights flashed. And when someone showed them the lights could flash and change colors, they lost their minds. Jason gets Dick a pair of light-up sneakers as a joke. But somehow the older boy fell in love with it. He didn't know they lit up at first. Wondering why Jason had a smug grin on his face when he put them on. But the look on his face when he saw the colors, the lights all flashing, was one that Jason would never forget. It was a look of surprise, followed by an expression of such pure joy and excitement Jason could have sworn he felt his heart melt. Dick refused to get his shoes dirty, only wearing them on special occasions or when he was genuinely happy and showing them off to everyone. Constantly stomping and jumping around to see them flash. Stephanie accidentally walked over one of those roll-up pianos and jumped back when she heard the music play. It's now her favorite accessory in her home, and she has many more instruments and customized musical rugs in her home courtesy of Barbara. It's one of her favorite things in life. Damien somehow got addicted to Club Penguin after Tim introduced him to it. He spent hours hooked on that game, saving every puffly he could and collecting them. After the game vanished for the internet, he was so distraught he refused to eat his meal for days straight. This ended after a new version somehow made its way onto Damien's laptop. Tim will never admit till his dying breath that he brought the game back just for Damien.
Every day, I think about how I ran a fake tradwife blog on here under the username Proverbs31wife to convince a woman on here to let my non-binary lesbian ass into a tradwife Discord server because I wanted to see the dumb fuckery entailed there. And I had my friends send me fake anon-asks challenging my faith or whatever. And I got into the server and had a laugh at the fuckery there and thought that was the end of it. And then a strange Aeons made a video about the tradwife community on Tumblr and included my god-awful fake response about my husband Jeremiah, and now has merch with that phrase on it, and I just want any of you who are fans of her YouTube channel like myself to know that you're living in the good timeline, because that shit was fake as fuck and was written by a lesbian trying to con their way into a Discord server. I am overjoyed to learn this. Some updates for everyone who's reblogged this post over the years. 1. As it turns out, I am a trans man. 2. I still have screenshots from this server, and will happily DM them to mutuals upon request. MOU. I was completely unfamiliar with tradwife, and at first read it as tradewife and took it to refer to wife-swapping swinging, with the implication that this was popular among conservative Christians.
I'm reading about cowboy phrases and sayings, and like 95% of them are just solid life advice. Things a cowboy should not do. Don't squat with your spurs on. Don't let your yearnings get ahead of your earnings. Don't dig for water under the outhouse. Don't go in if you don't know the way out. Don't mess with something that ain't bothering you. Never drive black cattle in the dark. Never approach a bull from the front, a horse from the rear, or a fool from any direction. Never miss a good chance to shut up. Never ask how stupid someone is, because they'll turn around and show you. Like, I don't know how accurate these are, but somehow they manage to be both peak humor and genuinely helpful suggestions. If you find yourself in a hole, the first thing to do is stop digging. It's better to keep your mouth shut and look stupid than open it and prove it. If it doesn't seem to be worth the effort, it probably isn't. Just because trouble comes visiting doesn't mean you have to offer it a place to sit down. Letting the cat out of the bag is a whole lot easier than putting it back. Nature gave us all something to fall back on, and sooner or later we all land flat on it. The quickest way to double your money is to fold it over and put it back into your pocket. self-help books and therapy. All I need to make it in life is my trusty cowboy tips.
Demon Twins are where Danny is just as good, if not better, at mimicking voices as Damien and decides to make it everyone's problem. Danny annoys and/or haunts goons by mimicking child's laughter down dark hallways, where he, of course, also causes the temp to go down and lights to flicker. He starts a side hustle where, if given a voice sample, will recreate the voice and say, within reason, whatever the person paying wants him to say. This is great for people who may have gotten or found a note from a loved one and want to hear it in their voice. It can be used for practical jokes or calling someone out of school or other sticky situations. It's also, unfortunately, used by some hero fans in a less than appropriate context. But $20 is $20, and Danny isn't one to judge someone's preferences if it's not hurting anyone, until it does. Because someone, cough, Lex Luthor, cough, over time, has Danny say a couple things in Superman's voice and then releases it as proof that he's a terrible person. Danny is quick to realize and freaks out. He releases the full or clipped portions of the audio to show where it came from, with a caption stating, "I just thought the dude was into some freaky sadomaso, degrading kink stuff involving Superman. I didn't realize it'd be used in this context, though I wouldn't be surprised if he also used to it get off." Danny thinks the problem is solved as Luthor is being horrendously memed and embarrassed online for getting audio sex tapes of Superman. Unbeknown to Danny, the Bats get curious and investigate as this could be a liability, but also because it's hilarious. Shenanigans ensue.
Phone call. Jason, I'm sorry, Talia, I can't kill Bruce. Talia, you asked me yesterday if I could break Bruce out of the afterlife so I can kill him over and over. Jason, yeah, that would have been fun, but he's given me an offer I can't refuse. Talia, he killed the clown? Jason, he gave me a first edition Pride and Prejudice book. It says by a lady instead of Jane Austen. Talia, you are sacrificing months of training and planning for a book? Jason, I'm weak, Talia. I'm weak. Jason, but I am weak to a power like this. Talia, what was it? Jason, a book. Talia, what? Jason, he had me in just 2 words. Flashback. Bruce, look inside. Jason, opens book and hyperventilates. Bruce, remember all the best parts of your life. Bruce, creeps towards Bruce with arms outstretched. I've got you, don't worry. Daddy's got you now.